Chinese New Year almost, right? It's on Friday. Are y'all getting ready for that? I hope you're having a nice bit of a vacation. I hope some of you are having a little bit of a break. Anyway, like Miss Kay said, I am Grace. I live in China, but I am from America. Depending on the day, I'll say either California or Texas. I've lived in both. So yeah, enough about me. Who are you? Can you just go ahead in the chat, throw your name in there, how old you are, what city you're in, what grade you're in, and yeah, let's get to know one another a little bit. So we don't have a ton of people today, but I think some people are maybe on vacation. Oh, hi, Billy in Yantai, 9 years old. Welcome to the Jesse Owens seminar. 12 years old, Lisa. Hi, Ivan. Hi, Jerry. Jerry, you're like a regular attendee of my talks. I feel so, I'm like, yes, Jerry's here. All right. Lisa, sweet. Well, you know what a really important question I have to ask you guys is? Are there any fireworks in your cities right now? I know in some cities there are no fireworks. In other cities there's lots of fireworks, or some. Yeah, so hopefully you're getting to see at least some fireworks. Oh no. Well, maybe you'll hear some going off when I'm teaching, because in Kunming, my apartment, we're about 50 meters away from where they sell the fireworks. And so people are lighting fireworks right next to my apartment building. So you might hear that. Yay! Oh, so in Shanghai they have it. Disney. Nice. All right. So happy Chinese New Year. I hope this is a fun seminar for you guys and you find it relaxing and educative. All right. All right, so anyway, like I said, last week we did George Washington Carver, and we learned he was a Black agricultural botanist, this botanist during the end of the 19th century in America, and he contributed a lot of really awesome things. And the reason I want to take some time this month to talk about various awesome Black people in American history is because February is Black History Month. And it's just a time when we have an opportunity to learn more about a non-white perspective on history, and about some things that, yeah, Black people have done in American history. It's in February because February happens to be Abraham Lincoln's birthday, as well as Frederick Douglass, his birthday as well. I think he was born February 12th. He was born February 14th. And yeah, two awesome people that helped do a lot to get racial equality for like Black people and everybody in America, actually. So they are big deals. So anyway, here's a quote for us to start off with. Hi, William, 9th grade, or 9 years old, 4th grade. So here's a quote for us to start off with from Jesse Owens. A lot of these people, they have some really good thoughts and we can learn a lot. So this is something he said: we all have dreams, right? You guys have dreams, you have things you want to do. But in order to make dreams come into reality, it takes an awful lot of determination, dedication, self-discipline, and effort. Okay, so this is kind of a reoccurring idea throughout Jesse Owens' life. He had dreams and he had things he wanted to do, but he had to work his butt off to get those things done. It's not like he was like, oh, I think I want to be going to the Olympics and I think I want to win a bunch of gold medals. I think I'm just going to sit on the couch and eat chocolate all day, or I think I'm just going to play on my cell phone all day. No, he actually like got off his butt and he had to work really hard to get his dreams achieved. And so, you know, this is actually something we can take away from Jesse Owens' story, is that he had a lot of determination, a lot of dedication and self-discipline and effort. So you guys, y'all pretty young still. Also, even me, I'm not super young, but I'm not that old yet. Our dreams matter, but more important, we need to have determination and dedication and discipline to get to our dreams. All right. This is Jesse Owens. This is a picture, and you look, he's actually in his Olympic racing attire, okay? And we'll talk a little bit about this. But this is one idea that we're going to talk about. His triumph was in more than just a race. So he went to the Olympics in 1936, and he did pretty good. We'll talk about that. He did really well in the Olympics. But actually, the Olympics at that time, they were in Germany, in Nazi Germany. So actually, he went and he competed in front of Hitler as a Black African American. And if you know anything about the Nazis only liked white people. They only liked a certain kind of white person, and they didn't like all white people. They only liked certain kinds of white people. They were very racist. And so he actually went to Germany in 1936, and he beat the Nazis at their own competitions. Like he proved, like, look, race doesn't matter. What matters is hard work and determination. So a little bit of a spoiler there. Today's book, we're going to learn about Jesse Owens. Throwing into today's lecture, I've put a lot of pictures, some extra information in there. That I hope you guys will find interesting. And if you have any questions, feel free to post something up in the chat, or you can ask something in questions and answers. Yes, the Nazis did basically start World War II. That was certainly part of why World War II started. All right, here we go. Oakville, Alabama, 1920. JC's bare feet sped along the ground. He loved playing tag with his friends. A boy reached out to tag him, but JC dashed away. The other boys clapped and cheered. When JC Owens ran, there was no catching him. So even as a kid, JC Owens was fast. JC was born in 1913. His real name was James Cleveland Owens. He grew up with 7 brothers and sisters. The Owens family lived on a farm. They worked hard, raising corn and cotton, but most of the crops went to the rich man who owned the land. The Owens family was poor. JC's clothes were usually ragged and thin. So this is something called sharecropping. We talked a little bit about it last class with George Washington Carver. This was a system after slavery ended in the US. There was no more slavery, but what happened is the people that owned the land still owned the land, and then they still needed labor, so they would hire Black people to work the land, but they would pay them very little money. And so, yeah, they were really poor still. All right, still, the family always had enough to eat, and they had each other. For fun, JC and his brothers swam and fished in the nearby pond. They liked to hunt in the woods. On hot summer nights, they camped by an open fire. On Sundays, JC went to church with his family. After church, men gathered for races. JC's father was the best runner around. JC thought his father looked like a rushing train. He dreamed of running fast someday. So 7 brothers and sisters, you can imagine it was quite a big family, and they were quite close. And yeah, JC's dad was actually known for being extremely fast as well. So here they are around the campfire and having a nice weekend relaxation. So Owen's family was a shack made of wood and cardboard. Cold winds blew right through its walls. Every winter, JC became very sick. His family called it the devil's cold. Being sick so much made JC thin and weak. JC's mother dreamed of a better life for her children. But it was hard for Black families to get ahead in the South. Many had moved to cities and the North. Maybe the Owenses should too. So this is the picture of Jesse Owens as a kid. He actually was extremely sickly. Um, in fact, he had this one thing, like when he was a kid, his mom found like a growth kind of like on his chest, like about here on his chest. And it was starting to make it really hard for him to breathe. It was compressing his lungs and he couldn't breathe. And the parents were starting to get worried that maybe their kid was going to die because of this growth, this thing growing on his chest. And so when he was about 5, 6 years old, his mom decided we're gonna have to get rid of this somehow. They couldn't afford doctors at this time. Like these were really poor people, deep south. A lot of medical doctors, even if they could go to a doctor, they wouldn't treat them just because they were black. Like that's how messed up things were back in America. And so actually she had to do this herself. She didn't really want to do it, but Jesse's dad was like, look, if we don't get this removed, he's not gonna be able to breathe. And it's better to remove it when it's still pretty small than to let it grow bigger and then maybe there will be nothing we can do. So she did this herself. She took a knife, heated it over an open flame in the kitchen. Okay, so she sterilized it, she got it clean, and then she actually cut it out of her son herself. The story goes that he actually bled for like 4 days, and his dad was like, one day was just like praying, like, God, please don't let my boy die, and was like really, really worried about Jesse dying. And the family prayed together, and the bleeding stopped like shortly after they prayed. So crazy story, but yeah, his mom did fairly major surgery on him when he was about 6 years old. All right. So when JC was 9, he's recovered from having his mom do surgery on him. When JC was 9, his family moved to Cleveland, Ohio. So Ohio is in the north. Something you need to know, in the US, generally the more south you go, there's some more racism, especially longer ago. But so they were living in very far south in Alabama, and to the north in Ohio because there's less it's a little less racism in the north at that time. So when JC was 9 years old, his family moved to Cleveland, Ohio. He went to a new school. He made new friends. People in Cleveland didn't talk the way JC and his family did. On his first day of school, JC's teacher asked him for his name. He replied JC in his southern accent. To the teacher, it sounded like Jesse. JC was too shy to correct her. From then on, everyone called him Jesse. Things were better for the Owens family in Cleveland. Jesse's father and brothers got job in a steel mill. Around age 12, Jesse began working too. After school, he pumped gas and shined shoes or watered plants in a nursery. Yeah, so he actually had 3 jobs, and this was to help pay for his own schooling. One thing I want to mention here, Southern accents. So I have a West Coast accent, okay, but there's this, we call it a Southern drawl, a Southern accent in America. And so I am very clearly saying JC, but he would say Jesse, Jesse. So if I was reading this, and if I was reading like this section here in a Southern drawl, I'd be like, at around age 12, Jesse began working too. After school, he pumped gas, shined shoes, or watered plants in a nursery. So it's a different sound. So the Southern accent in America sounds a lot different from from a Northern accent. I actually don't have a very good Southern accent. I can't pretend it very well. But yeah, different parts of America, they have different ways that they talk. And so JC, I said in a Southern accent to a Northerner, like where I've lived at times, Jesse. You can hear JC, Jesse, but that's not his real name, right? But he was too shy, so he got a new name. Speak up when you know. Speak up. Don't be afraid to speak up when people are giving you names, guys. All right. So anyway, here he is working. He's doing great. So when Jesse was 14, he started junior high school. His new gym teacher was Charles Riley. Coach Riley saw something special in the new boy with skinny legs. He thought Jesse looked like an athlete. So he asked Jesse to join the track team. He couldn't wait to tell his parents, but there was a problem. The track team trained after school. That was when Jesse had to work. So coach agreed to meet Jesse before school instead. So remember, he's working 3 different jobs: watering plants at the nursery, shining shoes, and pumping gas. And he needs to work those jobs to help feed his family, right? This was back in the day when there wasn't so many scholarships, so many opportunities for for studying. Like, it wasn't as, you had to pay for everything. And so he had to do all the work. So actually the coach though was like, hey, I think you have so much potential. I will wake up early and I will train with you before school. So yeah, good thing he did that, because he actually did see something amazing. This kid later becomes amazing. He's like the Usain Bolt of 1936. All right, we'll keep going. Every morning, Jesse got up an hour early for practice. The school was empty and quiet. The only sound was a crunch, crunch of Jesse's feet on the track. He always tried to run the way coach taught him. He held his head high and straight. He practiced picking up his feet as soon as he had set them down. Run like you're on a red-hot stove, coach told him. Soon he was running with a smooth, graceful style. Over the next year, Jesse's legs became stronger. He became faster. So you'll see it in some clips I have of him. When he runs, he actually is really picking up his feet quite high. You know, the funny thing is we all can run, right? But some of us run better than others. But running is a bit like dancing, or a bit like studying English. The more you practice it with good form, the better you get at it. And so this coach really had a good idea of how to teach the correct running patterns. And of course, the more you do something, the better you get at it. The stronger those muscles become. And so he started getting a lot faster. One morning, coach decided to time Jesse on the 100-yard dash. Jesse's feet flew towards the finish line. Coach checked his stopwatch. That couldn't be right. Coach found another stopwatch. Jesse ran again. The time was the same. Jesse had run the 100 yards in 11 seconds. That was close to the world record, the fastest time ever. Coach Riley had been right. Jesse Owens was a fine young athlete, and he was becoming a champion. So this is at age 15. At age 15, he's running the 100-yard dash. That's about the same thing as a 100-meter dash, in almost the world record at the time. And he's not even grown up yet. So this kid was fast, was really, really fast. All right. Okay, yeah, if you guys have any questions or comments or things you want to ask, feel free to throw them in there. Actually, I have a question. Are any of you guys track athletes? Do any of you run? Do any of you do any athletic training, any running? You can just type it in the chat box. So if you do track or field, do we have any track athletes in here? Oh, King. All right. So yeah, if you do any of the track athlete running things, you can go ahead and just tell me, what do you do? Do you do running? Do you do like throwing? Like, how fast? So yeah, Brandon Leo asked a question. 100 yards is how many meters? About 100, actually. I think it's a little bit more than 100. It's yeah, I can look it up after class for you real quick, but I think it's a little bit more than 100. It's pretty close to 100 meters. Yeah, cool. All right, so one day a famous runner visited Jesse's school. Charlie Paddock had won medals in 2 Olympics games. Jesse was excited to shake his hand. Right then, he knew he wanted to be an Olympic champion too. Coach thought Jesse's dream was great. He told Jesse to think about the future, not just the next race. Train for 4 years from next Friday, Coach said. Jesse listened and kept working hard. Okay, so you ever have that happen to you guys where somebody who's done something really cool shows up and is like, hey, look, you can do this too. And then you're like, yes, I want to do it. Right? People that inspire us, right? So sometimes it really helps to know people that have done some things beforehand or have done something maybe that we want to do, and then we can do it. Like when I was a kid, I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a disease doctor, and I got to meet some real disease doctors, and that really helped me study hard when I was in school and get good at science. Eventually, I just decided I didn't want to be a doctor, but yeah, it was cool to know people that helped me want to learn more science. So yeah, it's good to have people that inspire us. All right. So he's graduated junior high now, and now he's moved on to high school, right? Some of you guys are going to go to high school soon. Jesse entered East Tech High School in 1930. He kept training with Coach Riley. Jesse ran 79 races in high school. He won 75 of them. He competed in the long jump and the high jump too. Before long, Jesse was doing more than winning. He was setting records. In his senior year, he set a world record in the 220-yard dash. Crowds loved to watch Jesse run with his easy, graceful style. When Jesse was on the field, people barely noticed anyone else. So you can do the math on that real quick. 79 races, and he won 75 of them. So that's what, over like 96% winning. Wow, that's quite a bit. So he was a force to be reckoned with on the track and field. Can't find my cursor here. There we go. Clear all drawings. Good. Okay. So yeah, he was an amazing athlete even in high school. Jesse finished high school in 1933. Many colleges wanted him to be on their track and field team. Jesse chose Ohio State University. His new coach was Larry Snyder. Coach Snyder taught Jesse to run even faster and jump even further. Jesse won event after event for the Ohio State team. In May 1935, the team traveled to Michigan for a championship meet. Jesse hurt his back playing football with a friend. Coach Snyder didn't want Jesse to compete in the meet, but Jesse didn't care about the pain. He knew he could win. Actually, what Jesse Owens did is he told the coach, if you let me run in the 100-meter or the 100-yard dash, you'll know if I'll be able to run in the further ones. Okay, someone just looked it up. 100-yard. Oh, okay. Thank you, Brandon. Okay. Yeah, so Brandon Leo, he answered his own question. Thanks, because I can't go and look it up right now. So 100 yards is 91.8 meters. Okay, sorry, I had it flipped around. I guess a yard is a little bit shorter. Yeah, yard is a little bit shorter than a meter. Sorry about that. 220 to 201.668 meters. Okay, sorry about that. Thank you, Brandon. Appreciate it. Yeah, so this is one of the things. Meter and a yard are like almost the same, but I guess yard's a tiny bit shorter. Yeah, so Jesse was fast. Whether you measure it in yards or in meters, he was really, really fast. So he actually met his sweetheart Minnie in junior high school. Okay, he actually ended up marrying her when he graduated high school. Back in the day, there were no scholarships, so he was this amazing athlete. No, not Minnie Mouse. This lady over here, Minnie. He was this amazing athlete. He worked so hard. Like today, if you had a young man like Jesse Owens come to your school and say like, I want to run for you, you'd be like, okay, we'll pay for you to come to our school. But long ago, they didn't have that. So he actually had to work like 3 or 4 different jobs while he was going to college, while he was training for all these track athletes, all these track events. But he made it work, and he was a good husband on top of it all. Minnie Mouse. No, not Minnie Mouse. His girlfriend was named Minnie, okay? All right. So this is in a championship meet. The first event was a 100-yard dash. For Jesse, the race seemed to be over as soon as it began. He won and he tied the world record. Next was the long jump. The world record was 26.2 inches. Jesse marked that distance with a towel. He ran towards the takeoff board and leapt into the air. The towel became closer and closer. Suddenly, it was behind him. Jesse shattered the old record by more than 6 inches. Minutes later, he broke records in the 220-yard dash and the low hurdles. In less than an hour, Jesse had set 3 world records and tied another. Okay. Yeah, no, it's not Minnie Mouse, okay, guys? It's not Mickey's wife. It's no. Okay. Oh, you guys are funny. You guys are really funny. No, not Minnie Mouse. All right. So anyway, if you missed that, okay, so the kid's like 21 years old, maybe, and he breaks 3 world records, and he ties another one in 1 hour. So this is an athlete. We've never seen anybody like this before Jesse Owens. And here he is doing his warm-up thing. Yeah, this actually is when he's in the US, but he's warming up his legs, getting ready to go and do some sprinting. Okay, this is from his US Olympic teams. This is actually when he's doing long jump. I mean, like, look at this, guys. He's basically flying. That's crazy. Any long jumpers here? Anybody know how to do long jump here? Long jumpers? Anybody? All right, I don't know about you, but when I do long jump, if I try to jump and I'm trying to get some height, I'm like, I'll show you how high I jump. It's funny. So I'm like trying to get long jump. Like, so I'm like, oh, I'm going to jump as high as I possibly can. And I would end up like here. That's about where I would end up. Maybe you guys would end up like here, but Jesse Owens would be like, like all the way out of the screen. He'd be popping out of the screen. So he was huge jumper. All right, moving on here. Okay, so no, Jesse became famous that day. Go away, computer screen. Sorry. Okay, stuff is in the way. Okay, Jesse became famous that day. Reporters called him the world's fastest human. Everywhere he went, people wanted to shake his hands. A few months later, Jesse had something to celebrate. On July 5th, 1935, he married Minnie Ruth Thalman. Jesse didn't have much time to enjoy married life. In the fall, he went back to Ohio State. Everyone on the track and field team was talking about the Olympic Games. They were going to take place next year in 1936. Going to the Olympics was all that Jesse could think about, right? His dream is going to come true. Yes. Jesse tried to study hard in college, but he had always liked running more than studying, right? Some of us are like that. He failed one of his classes. That meant he could not compete until spring. Jesse kept training, but all winter he watched while his Olympic teammates competed. The Olympic tryouts were coming up. Would he be ready? By spring, Jesse could race again. I need to close some stuff. Okay. By spring, Jesse could race again. Once more, he was winning races and breaking records. At the Olympic tryouts, it was no surprise when Jesse finished first in all of his events. His dream was coming true. He was going to the Olympics. Okay. Jesse and his Berlin teammates traveled to Berlin, Germany for the Olympic Games. Adolf Hitler had become Germany's leader in 1933. So this is, the Führer, the Hitler, the Nazi guy. Hitler believed that white Christian Germans were better than other people. He especially hated Jews and people of color, i.e. black people. He believed that white German athletes would beat everyone else at the Olympics, that it would show the world his ideas were right. People all over the world were horrified by Hitler and his ideas. They hoped that Jesse and the other black athletes could prove Hitler wrong. So he shows up to compete. The Nazi German soldiers are like, oh, we'll show the world that these people can't do anything. But let's see what happens. Actually, what's really interesting, even though there was so much racism in Germany at the time and really the world, when he showed up to Germany, everyone was saying, "Wo ist Jesse? Wo ist Jesse?" which was German for "Where is Jesse? Where is Jesse?" All the people in Germany wanted to see him race because he was known and so well respected for being such an amazing athlete at this point. So yeah. So Jesse was not thinking about Hitler. He said that all he could think about was taking home 1 or 2 of those gold medals. But first he had to solve the problem. His running shoes were missing. His coach searched the shops in Britain for new shoes. Just before Jesse's first race, the coach found 2 new pairs. Still, the coach was worried. The stiff new shoes would hurt Jesse's feet. That didn't bother Jesse. They'll make me jump farther when they begin to hurt. So when his feet hurt, he jumps farther. All right, couple interesting things here. So this book says that he wasn't thinking about Hitler. Actually, he initially wanted to boycott, which means not go to the 1936 Olympic Games. But after because of the racism, because he was like, I don't want to support like Nazism. But some of the other athletes and some of the other Black people in the community talked with him and were like, you know, we're going to just face this all the time anyway. We need to just show that like we can still do as well, if not better than them, even if they treat us lousy. And so he actually was like, okay, fine. All right, I'll go and I'm going to compete in Nazi Germany to show that like I can compete as well as they can compete. And then the other thing about the shoes, this was really interesting when I was doing a bit of research. His shoes didn't really go missing. What happened was a German shoemaker named Adi Dassler was like, hey, I'll give you shoes for free. I'll give you some free track spikes if you'll just try them out for me. Jesse was like, sweet, sure, yeah, give me some free shoes. And so Jesse actually wore Adi Dassler's shoes during the 1936 Olympics. It's a little bit embarrassing to have American athletes wearing German shoes, but he wanted to wear them. Interestingly enough, 10 years later, Adi Dassler founded Adidas. So he was actually the first Black sponsored athlete in history, which is kind of cool. Adidas. This is him putting on his brand new Adidas shoes, getting ready for a race here. All right, Jesse's first event was a 100-meter dash. A cold rain was falling. The track was soggy. That means wet. But Jesse kept his eyes on the finish line. Bang! The starter's gun went off. Jesse sprang into the lead right away. He crossed the finish line nearly 10 feet ahead of the other runners. Jesse had won a gold medal. He had also tied the world record. He watched proudly as the American flag was raised for him. So here he is beating everybody. The next day was a long jump. Each jumper had 3 tries to make the final. Jesse warmed up the way he always did. He ran down the runway to the pit. Then he got a surprise. The judges told him this was not allowed. His warm-up would count as one of his tries. On his second jump, Jesse stepped past the end of the takeoff board. That was against the rules too. He had just one more chance to make the finals. Jesse was afraid. Oh no, what's going to happen? This is like the event where he's like flying and now he's like, oh no, I might not even get on the marker. Suddenly, Jesse felt a hand on his shoulder. It was Lutz Long, a German long jumper. Lutz was Jesse's toughest rival. What could he have to say to Jesse? Lutz knew Jesse was scared. He told Jesse not to worry. Jesse's jumps were long enough, he said. The important thing was not to make another mistake. Lutz told Jesse to mark off a few inches behind the takeoff board. Jump from there, he said. Then Jesse would be sure he would not overstep again. Jesse smiled. It was a great idea. He relaxed, and then he made his jump. This time it was good. So this German boy, his competitor, okay, this guy who like shouldn't want him to win, offered him some advice because, you know, that's actually good sportsmanship, right? That's actually the spirit of the Olympics is we're trying to bring out the best in humanity. We're not just trying to be number one no matter the cost. We're trying to help humanity, show off humanity's best. And so yeah, this boy helped Jesse figure out how to do well. It was time for the long jump finals. At first Jesse was ahead, then Lutz jumped just as far as he had. On his third and final jump, Jesse burst off the takeoff board. One reporter said he looked like he was jumping clear out of Germany. When he landed, he had won the gold. Lutz Long won the silver medal. He rushed to Jesse's side and took his hand. The two athletes left the field arm in arm. That's pretty cool, right? German athlete and a Black American in Nazi Germany supporting one another. So here is Jesse Owens doing that jump. So you can see, bang! That's pretty impressive. I don't think I could do a quarter of that. Jesse also won gold medals in the 200-meter dash and the 400-meter relay. He had set 4 Olympic records. Hitler was disappointed, but the German crowds loved Jesse. They chanted his name from the stands. His picture was in the newspapers all over the world. Jesse had made his Olympic dreams come true. He was an Olympic champion, and he was an American hero. So he won 4 gold medals. So these are the 4. You can actually go to Ohio State and you can see them. These are his 4 gold medals. So he was an American hero, and you think that means when you go back to America, you should have a pretty good life, maybe meet the president. But here's the thing is racism was still a problem in America, and it was also a problem in Germany. So the US president at the time, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, didn't invite him to the White House with the other white Olympians. So actually he was snubbed by the president. He won 4 gold medals and the president was like, poo, poo, poo. Even after the Olympics, he struggled a little bit to feed his family despite his Olympic fame. So people were like, oh yeah, I don't care if you won 4 gold medals and made America look great. You're still Black. And so he had to take some really crummy work for a while there. But you know what? Even though he faced a lot of this hardship, he kept trying. He didn't give up. Eventually, he found some people who were helpful, who were good people, and he started to be a speaker for the youth. He started to be like an inspirational speaker, and actually started to do a lot to help young boys, young African Americans, especially. Like get some inspiration, get some dreams. So, you know, his life wasn't all easy just because he was super fast and super athletic. People still, you know, were stupid sometimes and treated him poorly, you know, based on him being Black. But he still kept going, and he still was able to find, you know, good work eventually and actually share hope with people, which is pretty cool. If you actually zoom in on these Olympic medals that he earned, this is what they look like. I thought that was kind of cool. These are the actual 1936 Berlin gold medals. Yeah, so, all right. I guess before we move on here, are there any questions? Because I'm supposed to leave a little bit of time for you guys to ask some questions before I just chug-a-lugga on here. Any questions? I think I see one. Brandon Leo, how many yards are there in how many meters? Yeah, I already answered that one. Or Brandon Leo answered it for us actually already. Any questions? Oh, 4 new messages. There are some. Wait, is JC Nazi? No. JC, Jesse, he's American. Yes. Okay. Any questions? Bueller? Oh, new one has popped up. Are the gold medals actually gold? Yes, they are. And actually, every country, every time the gold medals get made, it's on the host country. It's on the country that's doing the Olympics. It's their responsibility to make the medals, and they actually get to design all the artwork and design everything on the gold medals. Yeah, good question. And the silver medals are actually silver, and the bronze medals are actually bronze. I believe they even have to be like a certain weight. You can't be like, oh yeah, my gold medals are only going to be, you know, this big. You know, you have to provide them a certain size, a certain mass, so that people don't feel shortchanged. Yeah, any other questions? Good question, William. Is his name really JC? His real name is James Cleveland. OMG. Okay, sorry, William. Yeah, his name is James Cleveland. And so his nickname was JC, okay? But he lived in Alabama, okay? So he had a southern accent. So when I say JC, you hear it very clearly, very distinctly. But when he said JC, it sounded like Jesse. What's your name, Jesse? And so actually, what happened is a teacher was like, "What is your name?" And he said, Jesse, like that. And the teacher was like, "Oh, Jesse, nice to meet you, Jesse." And he was like, he was too shy to be like, "Actually, ma'am, it's JC." So that's how he got his name, Jesse. Well, he got his nickname. It's not actually his proper name. His real name is James Cleveland Owens. But yeah, his nickname in the South was JC. So his mom did the surgery for him. Did they provide a safety sanction for him? I'm not sure precisely what you mean, Brandon, but like, so here was the deal. You want to know more about his mom cutting that thing out of his chest? They didn't have any money. Like, they had no money. And the situation was also, doctors often would be like, "Oh, you're not white, so we're not going to treat you. You can just die." Which is horrible, but that's the way things were back then. And so previously, Jesse had they called it a fibrous growth on his leg. And his mom had previously cut one of these things off his leg already. So it seems like maybe there was like, previously they had to deal with this. So his mom had to cut one off his leg and so when she realized that he had this growth on his chest when he was about 5 years old, at first they were like, maybe if we just leave it alone, it will go away. Because actually it was quite close to his sternum. And so she actually didn't want to she did not want to cut it off, because she was really afraid that she might accidentally nick his heart, that she could damage like his lungs or something. Because, you know, if you're going to cut off this growth and you accidentally cut the lungs, or you cut, you know, the heart, or you cut, there's, you know, a major artery, that's it, game over, wah, 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 you're dead. So his mom was like, "I don't want to do anything." But the father was like, "Look, honey, our son can't breathe. Our son, you know, he can't do, like, it's getting harder and harder for him to function. So we have to do something." So what she did is she actually took the knife, heated it over an open flame, got it really hot, sterilized it. So at least she knew that she had to kill the germs. And then she, like, if you imagine like the growth, then she like cut around it. She had kind of like cut around it in their kitchen and very carefully cut it off of him. And then yeah, he basically bled a lot for 4 days. And then they thought he was gonna die, and so his dad was just like praying one day, like, God, don't let my son die. And the whole family like prayed, and it like stopped later that night. That's a story that Jesse Owens actually tells. And oh, another like crazy fact about this, Brandon. This was, obviously his mom wasn't a doctor anyway, but this was before they even had medicine to put you asleep. So what they would do at the time is they would take a bit of leather, like Neil P, right? They would take the leather and they'd put it in the mouth, and then he was there awake, feeling his mother cut into him to get this thing off of him. But it worked, and he didn't die. So, yeah, I hope that answers your question, Brandon. Pretty crazy story, but sometimes truth is stranger than fiction. Any other questions? Yeah, so definitely, guys, I do not recommend, if you have something strange growing on you, to cut it off. Don't do that. Go to the doctor, okay? Go to the doctor. Don't cut it off. But they didn't have a choice. All right. Well, if there's no more questions. Oh, open questions. Okay, so I answered all those. Oh, it looks like there's one more. Oh, I mean, is it safety enough to do that, and is it clean enough? Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. I think I answered that already. No, it's not safe. It's not very clean, but she did know she had to heat the knife very hot to kill off the bacteria to sterilize the knife. Yeah. So I think I answered that, and I gave you probably more bloody details than you wanted to know. I hope none of you guys are afraid of blood. All right, so yeah, let's read the epilogue. Let's read the conclusion here. By the time Jesse returned from the Olympics, he and his wife Ruth had already had the first of their 3 daughters. Jesse needed to earn a living, and he tried lots of jobs. He was a band leader, a public speaker, a owner of a basketball team. He started a dry cleaning business. He was also paid to run exhibition races at events such as baseball games. Throughout his life, Jesse was in demand as a public speaker. People liked his strong voice and his stories. Jesse's message was positive and inspiring. People in the United States, regardless of their color or background, could achieve their dreams through their hard work and determination. One of Jesse's favorite subjects was how Long Lutz helped him during the long jump trials at the 1936 Olympics. Many people have questioned the truth of this story, since no one actually saw Jesse and Lutz talking together that day. But Jesse always stuck to his story. He called his friendship with Lutz his greatest Olympic prize. As he grew older, Jesse continued to travel all over the world, giving speeches, presenting awards, and appearing at athletic events. He also wrote 4 books about his life and belief. In 1980, Jesse Owens died at age 66. He will always be remembered for his dedication and determination, and for his amazing Olympics achievements. So yeah, he died in 1980 of lung cancer. And yeah, so finally, actually, just because one president snubbed him and didn't give him the respect he deserved, he kept going, and eventually people really realized that he was a remarkable athlete and a remarkable human being. So this is President Carter, president in the 80s. And he said this, I believe, around the time of Jesse Owens' death. Perhaps no athlete better symbolized the human struggle against tyranny, poverty, and racial bigotry. His personal triumphs as a world-class athlete and a record holder were the prelude to a career devoted to helping others. His work with young athletes as an unofficial ambassador overseas and a spokesman for freedom are a rich legacy to his fellow Americans. So yeah, President Carter realizing, yeah, even 60 years or 60, 50 years after the fact, after his Olympic achievements, you know, US presidents still today realize that he is an exemplary American. Um, the university that he went to, Ohio State, to this day, um, they have like stadiums named after him. There are schools named after Jesse Owens. He's very widely respected um, throughout the United States, and a lot of institutions are named after him for his contributions to sport. So this is actually what's on his grave site. Okay, so this is actually if you go and you visit his body in a cemetery. Okay, you can see what it says. So September 12th, 1913 to March 31st, 1980. So athlete and humanitarian. A humanitarian is just someone who like helps people. Athlete and humanitarian, a master of the spirit as well as the mechanics of sport. A winner who knew that winning was not everything. He showed extraordinary love for his family and friends. His achievements have shown us all the promise of America. His faith in America inspired countless others to do their best for themselves and their country. So, a couple of things I want to point out here in this. Okay. Winning was not everything. Okay. This is actually an important thing for you guys as young people to realize. Okay. There are going to be times in your life when you don't win. You will lose sometimes. I'm sorry, but not really. Okay. You need to understand that winning is not everything. Okay. What's more important than winning is being a good human being, is being a kind human being. You think back to his friend Lutz, the German. That German boy could have just been like, "Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, such a shame. Good luck," you know, and um, he didn't have to help him, but actually this boy decided to be kind and to really show the spirit of the Olympics and to show kindness and helped his competition. Okay, and it actually what it did for the world to show actually that you know it doesn't matter what color you are. What matters is that you work hard and you try. You know, it was an important message for the world. So being first place, being number one is not everything. Okay, it's more important that we're kind and loving people to those around us, right? Because if we become if we become like really mean and really vicious as we try to win, then we're not really being good humans. We're not really being good people. So, yeah, that's an important thing that we can take away from Jesse Owens. And also this other phrase, he showed extraordinary love to his family and friends. So, yeah, being a loving person. At the end of the day, we're all going to end up dead at some point, right? We all will die. And so, how will we be remembered? We want to be loving, we want to be kind to our family and friends. We want to be yeah, people that have helped people and been good. So, yep, that's about all that I got for you guys. Let's go ahead. Oh, and I want to, yeah, this is the final picture of my presentation. This is Jesse Owens at the 1936 Olympic Games running in front of these massive crowds. So yeah, hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you enjoyed the presentation. If you have any more questions, you can ask them. But that's all I got for you guys. Any questions?
Hi.
Hi.
I like to ask a question still about that surgery because I'm really interesting about that surgery. Cause
Yeah.
uh, I'll tell you first point because first of all, I think the surgery was pretty a magic because like they did it themselves with the kitchen knife. then they cut it off their lungs. And I would really ask, the kitchen knife was really big at that time. It was not like the small knife, but
Hmm.
how would her mother provide that it will not hurt his JC's lung or JC's heart to put the stuff, the other things, like the stuff that make him can breathe that stuff out?
Oh yeah, no, that's a really good question. And you're right. This was an extremely, extremely dangerous thing to do. Like she didn't want to do it at first. Like she really didn't want to do it, but her husband was like, he's going to die if this stays on him. And so my understanding is that it wasn't actually in the body cavity. My understanding is that it was kind of like, so in your body you have like a, your tummy, like the muscle,
Yeah.
you have like the sheet of muscle. My understanding is that it was actually like kind of under the skin. That
Oh.
it, I'm not under the impression that it was under the muscle. I think it was under the skin, like, but not under the muscle. Did that make sense?
Yeah, but probably if it under the skin, because our lungs, probably the bones are very up high, and
Yeah,
our, so if he was kind of like an athlete, so his heart are just up behind of the lungs, and then
yeah.
there was not much muscle of in front, the middle of your chest.
Hmm.
There could be upside towards them, but it couldn't be like that. It was just behind of the skin, and how they like just cut it off and take it out.
I'm not sure. So what this is this is it's a story that his dad, like, it's a family story. And so he was, when this happened to him, he was like 5 or 6 years old. So how old are you?
12.
Okay. So do you remember things really clearly from when you were 6 years old?
Yeah, sometimes things remember when happens really big.
Yeah. So there's some things you remember, but then the way that you remember things sometimes is a little bit off, because when you're a kid, sometimes you don't understand what is happening as well as when you're older. Like, so as you get older, you remember things a little differently. And so the story that he told is that his mom in the beginning didn't want to cut it off because she was really afraid of like damaging his heart and his lungs. But reading over some of the material, I don't get the impression, I don't believe that it was like really deep in his body, that it was kind of more on the surface of it. Because yeah, how could you survive if it was like, under the, like, yeah. So yeah, either his mom was more talented at removing these things than uh than he realized, or it was maybe not deep in the body. So it's hard to know like precisely what happened, but something was cut off of him with a kitchen knife.
Yeah, it was just a magic that her mom can put, like it could pull over again, like put the stuff that she cuts out.
Yeah, maybe. It's really unclear, but they didn't have like the money to go, like, okay, medicine at that time anyway was not super, like, 1900s, 1913s. Like medicine wasn't super great at that point anyway, but they didn't have the option to even go to a doctor. So it was like, well, if I don't do this, my son is going to die. If I do it, maybe he'll die, but if I don't do it, like, he's going to die for sure. So it's kind of like, I guess I have to do this because if I don't, he'll die for sure. So,
Okay,
but
thank you.
thankfully he didn't die. Yeah, good question, man.
So my question is, was the thing that Jesse couldn't breathe was inside his body?
Yeah, I was just talking with Brandon. So like, all right, here, I think I need to draw this out. So it was on his chest. It was on his chest. what it is it's a story that happened to him when he was a kid. So if you have like, I'm gonna just draw. Okay, so if you have like, okay, so like this first layer here, maybe is like your skin, okay? Like this is maybe your skin. And then maybe this is the muscle, nigajiro, the muscle. And then here is like the heart and the lungs and stuff. So your heart and your lungs are protected by a sheet of muscle, okay? But then before the muscle, there's your skin. So I think maybe the thing that was in Jesse was here, okay? So maybe it was under the skin and not under the muscle.
So you mean his mother need to like cut up some skin on him?
Yeah, so there was like so there was like it was a golf ball size growth. So he had like something growing under his skin, like a big bump under his skin kind of that was growing up. And so she had to cut that off.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You guys are interested in surgery, I think. Did you know the first heart surgery was done by a black doctor? Did you know that? That's crazy. The first heart surgery was done by Franklin. Man, I forget his. Anyway, first heart surgery was done by a black doctor in like the 1890s. Amazing. Any other questions?
Well, I think you answered all the questions.
Yeah, they're excited about surgery, it seems.
Okay, thank you a lot.
You're welcome. Bye, guys. Happy New Year, okay?